1986 Formula One World Championship, the circus comes to Europe and to a new circuit in southern Spain at Jerez. Spain, the land of bullfighting, Jerez, the Spanish capital of the sherry industry. The circuit itself is completely new. Built just to the east of Jerez, a new autodrome carved out of the hillside, 2.6 miles round, with 12 corners and expected average speeds of just over the 100-mile-an-hour mark. Qualifying produces a familiar story, because once again it's Ayrton Senna on pole position. The two Williams Hondas are second and third fastest, Nelson Piquet and Nigel Mansell, with Mansell still complaining about the treatment he got from Ayrton Senna in that controversial first lap accident in the Brazilian Grand Prix 3 weeks ago. Fourth and fifth quickest are the McLarens of Alain Prost and Keke Rosberg. Then comes René Arnoux' Ligier, Gerhard Berger's Benetton and Jacques Lafitte's Ligier. There are 25 starters, so no problems with qualifying under the 26-car rule. At the start, it's a perfect takeoff for Ayrton Senna. Nelson Piquet goes into second place with his Williams Honda. Teammate Nigel Mansell is third. And then come the two McLarens of Keke Rosberg and Alain Prost. But a collision between the Ligier of Jacques Lafitte and Théo Fabi's Benetton sends Fabi's front nose aerofoil flying. He's going to have to come into the pits for a new nose section, but it hasn't delayed Jacques Lafitte. On lap 1, the order is Ayrton Senna first in the Lotus, Piquet and Mansell second and third, Rosberg fourth, Alain Prost fifth, but off go Jonathan Palmer and Alan Jones in Zach Speed and Beatrice Lola respectively. Palmer restarts, but his rear suspension is damaged, and Alan Jones doesn't get going at all. Fabi comes into the pits for his new nose section. And on lap 2, it's Senna, Piquet, Mansell, Rosberg, Prost, Arnoux and Lafitte in the Ligiers, Dumfries in the second Lotus, and then Stefan Johansson in the first of the two Ferraris. Mansell drops back to 5th place. The two Ferraris come through, but off with brake failure goes Stefan Johansson. His car hits the barrier, and when he clambers from the cockpit, he's quite badly winded. But he's not seriously injured. Ayrton Senna continues to lead the race, but Nigel Mansell is working his way back past Alain Prost and making his way back towards the front. As Senna laps one of the tail enders, Nigel Mansell makes up another place, passing Keke Rosberg. So now it's first Ayrton Senna, second Nelson Piquet, third Nigel Mansell. Mansell goes past his teammate Piquet to take second place and start a wonderful pursuit of Ayrton Senna, which soon has the English Williams driver right on Ayrton Senna's tail. And as they lap another Englishman, Martin Brundle, Mansell manages to box in Senna behind Brundle and take the lead. It's a superb battle, but Nelson Piquet drops out of that battle with engine failure in Williams Honda number 6. So now it's just between Senna and Mansell. Keke Rosberg drops back and comes in for a fresh set of tyres. But now Senna is back on Mansell's tail again, forcing his way one side then the other in his efforts to get by, and Alain Prost is in an equally close third place. It's a wonderful three-car battle. Finally, Senna finds a way past, and while Mansell is gathering his car together, Prost goes past as well. Mansell's tyres are almost completely worn out, so immediately he comes into the pits, It's a perfect stop. The Williams team change all 4 wheels, giving him fresh rubber in a pit stop which sees the car stationary for less than 8 seconds. Mansell thunders back into the race and amazingly is very soon back on Alain Prost's tail, making tremendous efforts to get by. Alain Prost hangs on to his second place for a while, giving Ayrton Senna a bit of breathing space. But in the end, as Senna struggles to maintain his lead on his now almost completely worn-out tyres, Mansell comes through in second place ahead of Alain Prost. Now in the closing laps, Nigel Mansell in second place can see his quarry ahead of him. With 2 laps to go, the gap is barely 5 seconds, and Alain Prost is in a distant third place. Mansell is driving the race of his life, and in this penultimate lap, he makes up over 3 seconds on the leader, Senna. His car is on completely fresh tyres, whereas Senna is struggling with now very much reduced grip. There are now only 8 cars left running in this gruelling race. One of them is the Belgian driver Thierry Boutsen, whose Arrows has to be lapped. That's another obstacle for Ayrton Senna, and it further helps Nigel Mansell to close up. Senna gets past the Belgian driver and his Arrows, but it doesn't delay Mansell either. And as they come down to start the final lap, the gap is now 1.5 seconds. It still seems an impossible task for Nigel Mansell, but Mansell is determined to right what he sees as being the wrong of the first lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix 3 weeks ago, and he's in a very determined mood. 1.589 seconds, that's the gap at the start of this 72nd and final lap. It's one of the great laps that Nigel Mansell has ever driven, and incredibly, he still manages to keep closing this gap. Half a lap to go, and still Senna seems to have the upper hand. But as they go through the final twisting section, Mansell is able to close right up on Senna under braking, where his car is very much more stable. Now they're behind the pit section with just 2 corners between them and the checkered flag, and it's now that Mansell must make his effort. Coming into the final corner, he closes right up on the black and gold Lotus under braking. And now it's the dash for the flag. Mansell goes up alongside. They cross the finishing line wheel to wheel as the checkered flag waves, but the official gap is 14 thousandths of a second. And Ayrton Senna is the winner by the narrowest of margins. Mansell second, Prost a distant third, and Rosberg, Farby and Berger all a lap behind. Senna in the middle, Mansell on the left, Prost on the right. The traditional spraying of champagne. In the World Championship, Senna now has a 6-point lead over Piquet, who retired, and Mansell is third with 6 points. In the Constructors' Championship, appropriately, Williams Honda and Lotus Renault are side by side with 15 points, with McLaren and Ligier equal third.